Hi, my name is Zane Starr, and I'm the creator of Cardi. Cardi is a decentralized package manager for Cartesi machines. So today, I'm just going to briefly step through the installation of the basic Cardi default machine installation and configuration. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how all the components connect together. And then for a deeper dive, I suggest you check out the website, cardipackager.yourpackager.com, and it will step you through sort of the details of how to get everything going. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So what I've done is I created a blank demo directory called Cardi demo. There's nothing in it. And so one of the first things that we want to do is install a Cardi machine package. Cardi machine package is a package that describes what goes in the Cardi machine, including the boot args and sort of everything you need to get going. So the default package is created by going Cardi machine init. And look here, we see this Cardi machine package. And this is the description that we're talking about. With this, we see these things called assets, and then machine config, which is kind of familiar if you're familiar with Cartesi machines. It describes the flash drives, the RAM, the ROM, and the boot args. And then we have a couple of extra fields called repos and version, which we'll talk about later. And then there's, of course, the assets. So let's just go ahead and install this. Cardi machine install Cardi machine package JSON. So now we're going to talk about the results. So what it's doing is going through all the different repositories to try and find whether or not they exist. And the repository is just a listing of like all the bundles. So how do you resolve the things like this, like the assets that we're talking about? So where there's a CID or a default name, etc. And so we take all of this data and then install it. So installing a machine, what does that actually do? So let's go ahead and see what got generated. So a couple of different things. So one, we generated a Cardi bundles. So this machine is composed of the various bundles for a RAM and ROM and a flash drive, which is the rootfs. So each one of these CIDs references a bundle, and then there's like the actual file name with that and ROMs, etc. Okay, and so the question is how do we resolve that? Okay, so when we resolve that, it results in this directory called Cardi bundles. Okay, so Cardi bundles now means that we have all of the assets that were described in that machine package.json locally on disk, and this Cardi bundles prefix that we can then refer to do other things. So one of the goals of Cardi is to make it really easy to generate machine configurations that are compatible with Cartesi machines, including the machine emulator itself, as well as any of the sort of Docker instances. So in order to do that, what we do is we do two things. So a Cartesi machine itself does not necessarily have to directly correspond to all the things that are in Cardi bundles, because you could have different things that are going in your development practice, things you don't want to load into the machine emulator, etc. So what this does is it means it creates a sort of separate directory that only contains the bundles that you specify that your machine needs, called Cardi build. So if we take a look at Cardi build, it looks like this. So it looks very similar to Cardi bundles. In fact, it's the exact same because everything in there right now is exactly what we need. And so what this does, it makes it really easy to mount this directory in any sort of way that makes sense for you. So you can either set things up so that way you have a config that points directly to this directory on your own path or in a virtual path. By default, the machine config currently, because most of the use cases are in Docker, point to a virtual path. And I'll show you how to mount that in a second. So let's look at the other files that were created. So let's clear screen. we see machine config.lua. And so this is the actual Cartesi machine. So let's just take a look at that. All right. So what do we have? We defined RAM and ROM, and now we see the boot args, and it did something intelligent with the NTD parts, which you may or may not be familiar with, but it's just basically a way that is needed by the machine emulator to organize the drives and slap a label on them so that way you can refer to them through the boot args and in different contexts. So we look at our flash drive, it now has like a star length. It also has the image file name, which we'll see is prefixed by this packages. And you may say, like, how do I get to that? This is also remappable by the Carti Machine build command. So Carti Machine talks about the different things that you can do there. And we're actually going to run this because what we want to also do in our context is we want to create a run script. So, and a run script just basically allows us to run the machine rather easily. So don't fear if you ever sort of forget how things are working or what you should do. There's a really simple command for when you do want to run the machine that you've built. So machine config is already runnable. It is a full Cartesi machine configuration. So you don't need any magic to make that work. So we call Cardi Docker. It just kind of gives us some like hints on what to do. I like to use this all the time. I just copy paste. So we drop that in, which is the Docker command. And you'll see this command right here. And what it does is it mounts the bundles to this particular directory, which is the OPT Cardi packages directory. So we're in there. We're in the container context. And so when you're in the container, you just call Lua, the run script, and then you specify the machine config. And boom, just like that, we have run the Cartesi machine. And not only that, we have produced a stored machine. So if we go here, boom. And so that is a fully runnable stored machine that you can use, just like any of the other stored machines that you may have seen through the Descartes environment tutorials on the Cartesi website. So it's a simple way to share packages, etc. And so thank you for tuning in. And for more details, I encourage you to check out the webpage and to just walk through the tutorial. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.